Happy Friday, everyone. Today is Friday, February 28th, 2025, and you are here with Robin at In the Family Way Coaching. We are here for what? That's right, our daily Bible reading. And we are going through the Day by Day Kids Bible, which has been written by Karen Henley. What do we do next? That's right, we're going to pull out our calendar. Look at that. Every day is filled. We are having a great time. We have filled out our second calendar. I have my sticker on for the day. Jedi, Forest, Pearl, are you learning fractions? We have how many months in the year? That's right, 12. How many months have we finished? 2. That's right. So what would the fraction be for that? 2/12. And we can reduce that because 2 and 12 are both divisible by what number? 2. That's right. So 2 goes into 2 one time, and 2 goes into 12 how many times? That's right, 6. So we are going to reduce that and say that we are 1/6 of the way through with this year. I hope that was fun. And for those of us grown-ups who didn't know that either. We are moving right along. We have finished 2 out of our 12 months. Oh, there goes my light. I was just saying I needed to recharge that light. Well, thank you for joining me here today for our daily fractional lesson. And we are going through the entire Bible. And thank you for joining us, whether you are watching or whether you are listening. We are here on TikTok and YouTube or our favorite podcasting app. And thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that God has led you to this event. We are going through the book of 1 Samuel right now, and we have been reading about the Israelites' first king named Saul. And today we're going to see something very important. We're going to see, I want you to keep your ears open for how he refers to God. Whose God does he refer to God as? That's a little tricky, but try to remember whose God he's talking about. All right, we are going to read 1 Samuel chapter 15 and chapter 16 today. So if you are hungry for more details, and I hope you are always hungry for more details, head up your big Bible and check out 1 Samuel chapters 15 and 16 today. The first section for chapter 15 is called, Why Do I Hear Sheep? Isn't that kind of a funny sounding question? But we will answer that question. Samuel went to King Saul, and Samuel said, God says to fight the enemy people of Amalek. God brought his people out of Egypt, but the people of Amalek were mean to God's people. So this will pay them back. Kill them all. But don't take anything that belongs to them. So Saul got his army together, and they marched out to fight the people of Amalek and killed them. But Saul kept the king of Amalek alive. He kept the best sheep and cows. The army men kept everything that looked good to them, and they got rid of what looked bad. Then God told Samuel, I'm sad. I'm sad because I made Saul king. He does not obey me. Samuel was upset. He prayed to God all night. He got up early the next morning and he went to see King Saul. But Saul wasn't there. Someone said, Saul is building a big stone monument. He's building it to make his name great. Samuel went and found Saul. King Saul said, I hope God brings you good things. I did what God said. Then why do I hear sheep? Asked Samuel. Why do I hear cows? Oh, my men brought them back, said the king. "We kept the best ones to give to God, but we got rid of everything else." "Stop," said Samuel. "I'll tell you what God told me last night." "All right," said King Saul. "Once you didn't think you were so great," said Samuel. "God chose you to be king. God gave you a job. God said to get rid of the enemy people of Amalek. Did you obey?" "You didn't get rid of everything." "I did too," said Saul. "I killed the enemy people of Amalek. I brought their king back. It was the men who took sheep and cows. They took them as a gift to your God." But Samuel said, "Obeying is better than giving a gift. Turning away from God is a sin. Being proud is like worshiping idols. You have turned against God, so he is turning against you." "I have sinned," said King Saul, "and I was afraid of the people, so I let them do what they wanted. Please forgive me and come back with me so I can worship God." "No," said Samuel. "I won't go with you." Samuel turned to walk away, but King Saul took hold of his robe. It tore. Samuel said, "God has torn your kingdom from you today. God will give it to somebody better than you. God is great. God doesn't lie. He doesn't change his mind. He is not a man." "I have sinned," said Saul. "Please show me that I am important to you. Please come back with me. I want to worship your God." So Samuel went with King Saul, and the king worshiped God. Then Samuel said, "Bring the enemy king." They brought the enemy king to Samuel, and Samuel killed him. Then Samuel left, and King Saul went back home. Samuel never went to see Saul again. But Samuel cried about Saul. And that's the end of our reading today. Oh, no, it's not. I'm wrong. So sorry. Choosing the next king, chapter 16. God spoke to Samuel. "How long will you be sad about Saul?" he asked. "Put oil in your jar. Go to see Jesse in Bethlehem. One of his sons will be the next king." "How can I get a new king?" asked Samuel. "Saul will hear about it and then he will kill me." "Go to Bethlehem to offer a gift to me," said God. "Ask Jesse to come too. Then I'll tell you what to do. Put oil on the man I show you." So Samuel went to Bethlehem, and the people of the town met him. He asked them to come offer gifts to God, and he asked Jesse and his sons to come too. Samuel saw Jesse's first son. "Oh, this must be the one God chose," he thought. But God said, "Don't choose someone by his looks. Don't choose by how tall he is. I don't look at people the way you do. People only see what others look like. I see what's in their hearts." Jesse called his next son. "He is not the one God chose," said Samuel. Jesse called his next son. "He is not the one God chose," said Samuel. And soon 7 of Jesse's sons had come, and God didn't choose any of these young men, said Samuel. "Are these all the sons you have?" "Oh, my youngest son is not here," said Jesse. "He's out taking care of the sheep." "Well, go get him," said Samuel. "We won't do anything until he gets here." So they went and they got David. And God said, "He is the one." So Samuel put oil on David's head. Then God's Spirit came upon David. God's Spirit gave David power. But God's Spirit had left Saul. A bad spirit had come on Saul instead. Saul's servants told him, "A bad spirit bothers you. Why don't you get somebody who plays the harp? He can play when the bad spirit bothers you, and then you'll feel better." "All right," said Saul, "find someone who plays the harp and bring him here." "I've seen one of Jesse's sons," said a servant. "He can play the harp. He is brave and is a good fighter. He knows how to talk to people. He's good looking, and God is with him." So Saul sent a message to Jesse. "Send David here." Jesse got some bread and wine, and he put all of this on a donkey. He got a young goat. He sent his son David to Saul with these gifts. Saul liked David, so David began to serve Saul. Sometimes David carried Saul's heavy armor. Saul sent another message to Jesse. "I'm happy with your son. Please let him stay here to serve me." So David played his harp when the bad spirit bothered Saul. Then Saul would feel better, and the bad spirit would leave. That's the end of our reading today. So did your ears catch what Saul said about who's God? He told Samuel, "Your God." Our God is a very personal God. He's not simply meant to be the God of Christianity or the God of Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. He is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But he said to the people, "I will be your God, and you will be my people." So it was expected that Saul would consider God his God. And he was not considering God his God. He did not have this relationship with God. He was not a priest, but he did not take God as his own and try to do the right things. And here we saw again that he claimed he was obeying the order that Samuel gave him from God. And in one side of his mouth and out of the other, he said, "Sure, I obeyed. I killed everybody and I brought the king back." Well, how can you kill everybody and bring the king back? Is the king not the biggest part of the people? And who ended up killing the king as God commanded? That's right, Samuel did. And we can't just decide what we think is right. And when he said, and what about all the sheep and the cows that they took? They were commanded not to take anything. So first he said he took everything as a gift to God. Then he blamed it on the people, saying, "Oh, it was the people. I was afraid of them." Really? He was afraid of them? He just let them do what they want because he was afraid? So he was not even accepting responsibility for his own actions. And so, he claimed, "Oh, I was saving them as a gift for God." That is not what God said to do. God said to not take anything that belonged to them. He didn't say take the best ones and give them to me. God wanted nothing to do with those things from the Amalekites. And yet he did what he thought would be best. And he may have been well-intentioned, but he just needed to obey. And that is what Samuel told him, is that you needed to obey. Obeying is better than a gift. And so we want to remember for our own selves is that we need to make sure that we know what it is that God says is right and is wrong, because just because we are well-intentioned doesn't mean that what we are doing is right. And we need to make sure that we are reading our Bible and that we have a personal relationship with God. Our New Testament parallel is when somebody asked Jesus, "What must I do for God? What is the work that God has for us to do?" And he says, "The work that God has for you is to believe in the one he sent, and that is Jesus." And then later on, Jesus says that there will be many who claim to believe in him, and he will send them away because he doesn't know who they are. It's not enough just to say, "Oh yeah, I believe that Jesus is God's son." We have our own responsibility to make God our God, to make Jesus our God, and to follow him. And he says that his commandment is to love one another. So if we follow and obey God's rules and we obey Jesus, that is how God knows us. When we spend time with him and we claim him as our God. And it's not just enough to say, oh, yes, I'm a believer, because faith without action is nothing. And Saul claimed to believe in God, but he was not obeying God. And that's our lesson for today. That's our personal application, is that we make God our God and that we follow him and we obey him and we do what he wants us to do. As I was reading today's and looking up things, um, one of the things I came across today was again something on gotquestions.org. So they have great answers on gotquestions.org. And I wasn't searching on Got Questions, but that's what came up for me today. And I mentioned some of the things that they mentioned on here, but I was trying to see if there was any more. Let's see. I was going to mention that, did you notice that Saul had an evil spirit come upon him? It actually says in the Big Bible that God sent the evil spirit. As much as God can give his spirit, he can also take it away. So he had given his spirit onto Saul, and he had taken that spirit away. But he didn't just take his spirit and put it on David. He actually sent a bad spirit to Saul. And it wasn't something that he had all of the time. The bad spirit would leave at times. But we will see later on what happens when he has this bad spirit come on him. And this was a consequence for his actions, um, for rejecting God and not obeying and not taking him as his own God. Not that God is, not that you are in danger of having a bad spirit placed upon you as a punishment, but just to show that God takes it very seriously. And that's what we show in the New Testament when Jesus said that he would send people away who were false disciples, people who would claim to be his prophets and like that. For one thing, Jesus is the last prophet. There are no more prophets. But people who would claim to be disciples of his and who would do work supposedly in his name, but that they do not know him. And we can do nothing apart from God. So we will not have the fruits of the Spirit. And we see that Saul did not have the fruits of the Spirit. He was not uh, showing any of the fruits of the Spirit. And in fact, he was very arrogant. He was putting up a monument to show he was great. He was giving glory to himself for winning battle against the Amalekites when it was God who would have won the battle. He was simply being used by God to go do the work, and he took it upon himself to be very prideful. So we need to be careful when God gives us work to do that we not become prideful about that and accept responsibility and accept glory for something that it is God who is doing, that he has placed it upon our hearts to do something. And so that is our other personal application today. Because God will send us to do things, and we want to be sure that we don't become proud. And that was what Samuel warned about in here. Let's see what he said. Let's see. Being proud is like worshiping idols because you are not worshiping God and giving him the credit. You are worshiping yourself. You have turned against God, so he has turned against you. And Saul likes to say with his mouth, oh, I have sinned. But did you notice the next thing he said? He said, I have sinned, said Saul. Please show me that I'm important to you. Right after Samuel told him that being proud was like worshiping idols because it's putting something before God. We're not supposed to put anything before God. And Saul was putting himself before God. Right after Samuel told him that, you can see that his heart is not right because he said immediately, "Please show me that I'm important to you. I want to worship your God." So we see that there is a lot going on with Saul. His heart is not right with God. And we can take that as our example too. Remember, if we start to act like Saul, that we don't want to do that. We want to uh, give God the glory, and we want to obey him rather than do what we think might be right. And we can find out what is right by reading the Bible and by spending time thinking about him, because that is where God will talk with us and he will put things on our heart and tell us that when we are doing things wrong. We talked a little bit about that, I think, last week when we mentioned meditation. And God says to meditate on the law day and night, and then you will know what is right. It will not depart from you, it won't go away from you. And Saul was not doing that. And remember, meditation is not sitting there quietly emptying your mind. It is to be focused and thinking about God and his ways. And then God will put it on our hearts with his spirit for what we are doing wrong. And he will bring us into correction. So there we go. That is a lot of application. That's very serious today. So in the last couple of days, we've seen fear and we've seen faith, and now we've seen turning away from God. God is teaching us a lot this year. Well, thank you for being with me today. I will have next month's calendar ready on the website by tomorrow, so that anybody who is interested in downloading a free calendar to keep track of your daily Bible reading, you can head over to my site at www.inthefamilywaycoaching.com, and you can download that free calendar. It's under the tab of Read the Bible in 1 year. And thank you for being here with me today, whether you are watching via YouTube or on my site, or whether you're watching on TikTok, or whether you are here listening on your favorite podcasting app. Thank you so much for being here today. If you feel that God has lit your light today, please click that light button. It looks like a thumbs up, or it might look like a heart, but it's really a light. And together we can light up the world, light up the internet, light up the YouTube, light up the podcasts, light up the TikTok. We are the light of the world, and let's spread the event, spread, get some attention for this event so we can spread the word about reading God's word. Because that is how we will learn his will for us, and how to do what he wants us to do, and how to do what is right. And then we can love him even more. I will see everybody tomorrow. I hope everybody has a great rest of their day.